because the world needs to know, and we need to do whatever we can and do our part to ensure that pressure is put on the Australian government to condemn Israel, to break ties with Israel and to condemn them for the slaughter that's taking place in Gaza right now. Over 1,000 people have been killed since December 27, when Israel started the attacks on Gaza. Over 300 of those people are children. There are thousands who have been injured, and because of the state of the hospitals in Gaza, because of the years of siege that Israel has imposed on it, many of these critically injured people will not survive. The hospitals are running out of fuel. The situation is absolutely desperate, yet this government not only does not condemn Israel, but this government has given tacit support for what Israel is doing in Gaza, and that's why we're here today. We're here today to hand over the hundreds of petitions and letters that have been signed by people at the protests that have taken place over the last 2 weeks, to hand them over to Kevin Rudd and demand immediate action and all ties with Israel. Now we're here today and we want to make some noise because the world needs to hear this. Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
We have some speakers today, and then we're going to present the letters that we have to Kevin Rudd's office and the petition, which I'll now read. We, the undersigned, petition the Australian Government to seek enforcement of the Genocide Convention, the Geneva Conventions and their additional protocols, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights in relation to the Christmas 2008 attacks by Israeli warplanes upon the defenceless civilian population of the Gaza Strip. In particular, we ask the Prime Minister and Foreign Minister to back Australia's representative in the UN in presenting a serious international diplomatic initiative to stop the disproportionate violence and collective punishment of the besieged Palestinian population. This siege has already caused a humanitarian catastrophe, which has only been exacerbated by the dramatic increase in Israeli military aggression. On Saturday, 27 December 2008, 100 Israeli planes bombed and strafed targets in Gaza that included police stations adjacent to many schools. On the following day, Israeli aircraft bombed mosques, home pharmacies and other public stores, offices and civil infrastructure. Israeli bombs killed children along with their parents in Jabalia refugee camp in Rafah and in Gaza City. We ask the Australian Government to join the international chorus for a halt to the violence that has killed so many Gazan residents and wounded more thousands. We expect our government to follow Britain, France, Russia, China and Japan in issuing responsible condemnations on the disproportionate violence and collective punishment of an entire population, and to demand that Israel allow humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip that has been kept virtually sealed since 2006. So this petition and the letters collected will be delivered to Kevin Rudd by some of the Palestinian children who are here today. This is to reflect on and to put it to the government to truly understand the human impact of what Israel is doing in Gaza right now. Over 300 children have been killed. So today I'll first ask Faye Waddington, who's from the Queensland Palestinian Solidarity Campaign, to come and say a few words.
Thank you for coming. We're trying to continue public awareness of discourse that is dropping off the radar in the newspapers and on television, and what we do here on television and the newspapers is terribly biased. According to a poll taken yesterday, people seem to be 50-50 in favour of Israel or Palestine, But I think if people knew the true story, and they're not hearing the true story, that would change dramatically. So the true story is Gazans or Palestinians are just fighting for what is theirs. The United Nations made a dreadful mistake back in 1947. Because of European guilt about the Holocaust, they decided they would give 56% of historic Palestine as a Zionist state for Israel. No one asked the Palestinians about that, and I'm not talking about just Arab Palestinians. There are Palestinians of all faiths living there, and they weren't happy about that. And would you be happy about that?
No.
But that's right, you wouldn't be happy about a decision made by the United Nations out of guilt over the Holocaust to give away 56% of your homeland. But in the ensuing battles, and even at that stage, the Zionists were a merciless, brutal force, doing what they are doing now in Gaza. They did that in 1947, 1948 to innocent Palestinians in their villages, wiping out entire villages. And they ended up then with 78% of historic Palestine. You don't read that, you don't hear that. And then in 1967, in another war, they ended up taking the rest, plus some adjoining territory of other states, what we now call the occupied territories. So you have the Palestinians being accused of lobbing rockets into Israel. They're actually lobbing rockets into land which should be theirs. And the Israelis are saying, we're telling them we're about to go to, why don't you move? Well, where have they got to move to? At least the people in southern Israel, which should be Palestine in brackets, they have got their bomb shelters, or the government can move them by bus to another part that isn't being bombed. Where have Gazans got to go? They're like rats in a cage. The borders are sealed. They're just being bombed on, and they've got nowhere to go, nowhere to run. And everybody is called a militant. Every male over 16 is called a militant. They might be policemen, they might be, they're ambulance drivers, ambulance workers have been killed. This is a crime against humanity. And there are people over there who are collecting information, because they're keeping a tally, and I certainly hope that Israel is brought before the International Criminal Court for what it's done, and those who are standing by them, which includes our Kevin Rudd, who is saying nothing. In fact, Julia Gillard, I'm waiting for her to retract her statement that the last ceasefire was caused by Palestinians lobbing rockets into Israel. No, wrong. The ceasefire was broke when Israel, under cover of the US elections getting all the coverage, bombed tunnels, and then Hamas, who are the democratically elected party in the Gaza, decided that they would retaliate. So it wasn't Hamas that broke the last ceasefire. It was in fact Israel. But Julia Gillard, while Kevin Rudd was off doing something else, has been spruiking that. So there are so much lies and so much disinformation. We're talking here about an occupation of people. It is their historic land, and if you are occupied, you have a right. You have a right to fight back against your occupier. And in this case, thank you. And in this case, we have got a man with a machine gun against a man with a slingshot, and the only way to equalise the fight is to stop arming the man with the machine gun. But America is giving them all the ammunition they want, and to make him look like the leper he is in the community. We should be boycotting everything to do with Israel. Their products, their sporting teams, their orchestras, anything that comes out of Israel should be boycotted, which is the only way that we're going to bring them to their heel, because the UN can't put them back in their box. They just ignore UN resolutions, and of course the USA needs a proxy in the Middle East, and so they're doing absolutely nothing. So we here are desperately trying to get the media and to get people out there to realise that it is not Palestinians. Palestinians are the victims, and Zionist Israel have become professionals in calling themselves the victims because of the Holocaust, but they are not the victims. They're brutal military aggressors that need to be brought to heel.
Yeah.